Hey guys, I'm Emily. I'm a lawyer, and yes, I'm enjoying some floor time because the law takes its toll on my mental health. So I'm a tax attorney. I graduated law school in May of 2024, and I was admitted to practice in November of 2024. And today I'm going to talk about 5 uncomfortable truths that I really wish I knew before going to law school. Quite literally, if I could go back in time and tell myself things, this would be it. Number one, follow your passion is misleading. I think, especially with the cost of education in the US, I feel like we're not really trained to view education as an investment. And I really think that we're doing our young people a disservice by not framing it this way because, frankly, at least for me, I didn't really consider the fact that law school is, not only the cost of law school. I mean, granted, I did get a pretty generous scholarship, but more importantly, it is 3 years of your life that you're not spending working full time. And I think if I had viewed it more in that lens, I don't know if I would have still gone. I mean, granted, I'm happy with where I ended up, and, ultimately, I don't regret any of the choices that I made as far as my educational path, but I wish I would have just given it more thought. And I think if, pretty much any time someone comes to me asking whether they should go to law school, this is probably one of the first things that comes to mind. I think too, if you're in undergrad or you're maybe in high school thinking about what you want to do for college, not all majors are created equal. For example, I was a political science major in undergrad. Starting salary in my area was probably around $35,000 to $40,000 a year. And for me, I always knew I wanted to do some sort of grad school, so I didn't really take it that seriously. But, I went to a very heavy engineering school, and the engineers had much higher starting salaries, but the cost of their bachelor's degree wasn't any more expensive than mine just because they were majoring in some sort of engineering and I was a political science major. So just in hindsight, I really wish that I would have given that more thought. Number two, and this is a little counterintuitive to my first point, but also on the same note, stop worrying so much about what you should do and also give some thought as to what you actually want to do. For example, for me, I was always interested in finance, but I sucked at math, and so I didn't really lean into it much. But it's funny now, being 27, I know a lot of people in finance who suck at math, and so I totally could have done that. But again, no regrets, but I think, had I given this more thought, I can't definitively say whether I would have still gone to law school. And I wish I would have just explored a little bit more. And I think part of what guided my decision was feeling like I didn't really have any other means to succeed. I love talking about my feelings. Granted, I'm literally filming a YouTube video right now. And again, no regrets, but I wish I would have just kept a bit more of an open mind and didn't bet against myself so much. Number three, people who are doing better than you are probably no smarter or more capable than you. They're either outworking you, they're asking for opportunities that you're not asking for, or they're doing a combination of the two. I remember I was working on a political campaign, and we had this one volunteer who kind of out of nowhere asked for an internship, and I was kind of like, oh, that's interesting. And my boss immediately said, he was like, you know what, I respect him for advocating for himself. Let's give it a shot. And at that point I realized, I was like, oh wow, this guy who wasn't really doing much or taking much initiative just decided to speak up for himself because he had the confidence to do so. And I thought that was kind of a bit of a wake-up call for me, because I realized there were certain points in time where other people were advancing where I wasn't, and frankly a lot of the time they were just willing to ask for things that I wasn't willing to ask for. And I think too, especially, and there have been plenty of times where I've just been plain out outworked by other people. I think especially in law school, the people who ranked at the top of our class in law school, they were outworking me tenfold. And so I definitely have a lot of respect for the fact that they really put in the time and effort in order to do well. Frankly, I don't know if I would really be happy with my life looking any differently had I gotten better grades in law school. I kind of I got where I needed to, and I'm happy with it. But especially if you're, one of those people that you are capable of working long hours and really grinding, you have to advocate for yourself. Otherwise, it's just going to, unfortunately, I think, largely go unnoticed unless you have people around you who are hyper vigilant and really seeing how hard you're working. You have to be willing to advocate for yourself on top of that. And I think it's just as important as the work itself. Number 4, jealousy is a disease, but it can be used in a productive way. I used to be a very jealous person, and I would say about a year ago, I had an epiphany and realized that the jealousy had nothing to do with the other person and everything to do with me. Frankly, if I'm jealous of someone, it means that they have something that I want, and so that means that they're doing something that I'm not doing. So instead of being a hater, why can't I just figure out what they're doing and use that knowledge to bridge the gap between where I am and where I want to be? And I'm not saying to never be jealous. I really think it's human nature to be jealous, and it's okay. I think, it's okay to acknowledge that. But if we learn how to channel jealousy in a productive way, I think we'd all get a lot farther. And not for nothing, I feel like a lot of people who I've seen who, when I first met them, I was jealous of them. Either they were better looking than me, more successful than I am, you name it. I've noticed a lot of these people ended up being a lot more generous in sharing their tips for success than I would have expected. Okay, the occasional person will tell you to go scratch, and that's fine, but I think it's at least worth a shot. I mean, why not? Number 5, instant gratification will kill your ambitions. Stay the course and success will come. I think every person I know who I look up to and respect had some sort of painful grind season that other people don't see. We often see the end product of someone who's incredibly successful, and we didn't see or we didn't witness the process that it took to get there. For example, I know they're a little controversial. I love Layla Hormozi. I think she's awesome, and I love how open she is about the process that it took to get to where she is now. And I think too, especially in law, I noticed, I'm coming on almost 2 years of practice now. I think definitely the first, as I approach just passing a year and a half, I was drinking a lot of energy drinks, really just neglecting what I was eating. And even though I go to the gym 6 days a week, it was definitely one of those things where every other area of my life was definitely suffering as far as taking care of my health, not really sleeping well, not eating well, loads of caffeine. I mean, granted, I'm drinking my coffee right now, but we're limiting it to 2 a day lately. But I think, that reaching for that instant gratification when work is stressful or there's something else going on in my life definitely has an impact that compounds over time. I think too, taking care of yourself in the proper ways, like getting enough sleep, eating properly, it has just as much of an impact as the actual work itself. Definitely lately, I've been trying to focus more on that, and, my social life is definitely taking a bit of a hit with that, but I think too, I just wish that in law school, I would have gotten more realistic advice, especially 1L, like at my law school, there was this strong message of during 1L, you should be doing nothing but law school. And I would have much rather someone just told me, listen, you're choosing a very demanding field. It's crazy, get used to it. Because especially once I started my 2L year, it was so challenging to reintegrate everything back into my life. Like 1L, I didn't work. I literally just did law school. And then my 2L year, I became a club president. I was doing an externship. I started working a part-time job. And it was incredibly challenging to reintegrate those things back in my life. And so I wish that someone had just told me, hey, like, it's going to be messy and crazy. Get used to it now because it's not getting any easier. It's really not. And that's okay. And I think that the sooner we can be honest about it, the sooner we can kind of mitigate and adjust our lifestyles accordingly. I mean, like I said earlier, I was a political science major in undergrad. Like, it was pretty chill, to put it gently. I took a gap year and I got my real estate license. And even working in real estate, I was setting my own hours. And so starting law school was definitely very challenging in the sense of now being on someone else's schedule again, and then also a much more intense academic workload than what I had in undergrad. So, anyways, I'd love to hear if anyone else has any advice for any law students or prospective law students watching. I really think that law school made me a better person. And so, this isn't by any means to discourage anyone, but I'd love to just give as many people an honest perspective on what this is like, because it's a big investment, both monetarily and with your time. And so, feel free to drop any questions and be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok for up-to-date dark humor, and I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for watching.